host HC, and with me is.
Wolf.
And we are back with Marvel today. Phase 4 is continuing, not with Black Widow, which I still need to see that one. Have you seen it?
Uh-uh. Only thing I've seen is
I
the
re-
whole Disney screwing over Scarlett Johansson. That's the only
yeah,
thing I've
like
seen.
actually, I like literally at the time of this recording, this is like maybe 24 hours into the whole Scarlett Johansson suing Disney and the entire debacle that happens because she announced that the Disney lawyers attacked her lawyers attacked them. Kevin Feige is apparently also pissed off about that. Different story for a different day. I haven't seen Black Widow yet,
As
so.
always, Disney, we're not behind. You're just too fast.
um, the mouse will see you in everlasting damnation or something, something. I don't know. It's
I'm
written
sure
somewhere.
I'll serve my mouse
But
time later at some point. But for now, before they own
but
everything,
for now, yeah. Let's talk about the newest Disney Plus Marvel show, Loki. And obviously, before we get into the show itself, Wolf, were your opinions on Loki before this show?
the character or
The character in the MCU. If we actually start talking about other representations of Loki, we'll probably be here all day. So.
fair. I mean, I think a lot of people love Tom Hiddleston, right? And I think this is definitely one of those
Mhm.
roles people love him as, and which I completely understand. That Tom Hiddleston, I think, is great as Loki. I think he's probably one of the best Lokis we've had, right? And I
Mhm.
mean, I like the character. I see nothing wrong with him, and I enjoy him. Like he's definitely
Mhm.
fun. He has a definitely, there's definitely an on-screen presence with him, and I think he's very fun.
And I think one of the reasons a lot of people really liked him is when you really look at it, uh, he's more from the Thor franchise in the MCU. Like the only other movies he's been in, with the exception of the solo Thor movies, are the first Avengers and Infinity War, where in one he's the main bad guy, and in the other one he dies in the first 5 minutes. So, and I think a lot of people rightfully kind of say that he's the thing that carries the Thor movies forward to them because without him the movies wouldn't have been as good.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of agree with that, but also don't get me wrong, I love Tom Hiddleston in this role, and I like Loki as a character and the way. And I think a lot of times the way he's written, I like him as a character. But I'm also feeling like he was never one of my favorites, like a lot of other people saw him.
That's fair. Hello.
And yeah, and I'm not sure necessarily if I never saw him as one of my favorites because I'm missing something, or just because that he didn't have as much chance to grow like some of the other characters. Because he's only been in 6 of the movies, and some other characters had more time to grow than that. But again, I don't mind Loki at all. I just don't think I ever got the big hype around him. Like whenever they announce that he's coming back to a movie, you get people screaming and cheering and stuff. And it's like I never liked him to that degree.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. Like again, I think
Mm-hmm.
some people just really like the character, and that's understandable. Some people, it's like he's fun, and I think that's fair.
Yeah, and with that said, though, I was excited when I heard that there's a show there was going to be a show focused on him because I figured that would actually give him more of a chance to shine, and he won't be just in the background, and he won't be the thing you remember as the side character you see the movie for. You would see him as the one that carries the whole thing as he should.
Mm-hmm.
What were your thoughts when you heard there was going to be a Loki show?
Uh, Nothing. It existed. Like, cool. You know what? I've watched uh Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I've watched um
WandaVision.
WandaVision. That's the name of it. I'm great at this, I swear. Yeah, I've watched those two shows. They were definitely, I think,
check our reviews.
yes, absolutely. Go watch that. We've covered all of the Marvel Studios shows so far. But yeah, I think,
Mm-hmm.
right, Captain Falcon and Winter Soldier still stands, out of those two, Captain and Winter Soldier, Falcon, Jesus. I'll get it right eventually. Falcon and the Winter Soldier still stands as my favorite between those two. So, but
Mm-hmm.
I think both shows were exceptionally fun and very enjoyable to watch for what they were
Mm-hmm.
doing. And
Yeah.
this continues that trend. So I was definitely like, hey, they're making a Loki show. Cool, I'll check that out eventually. Should be fun. The other
Mm-hmm.
two shows were good, so I have high hopes for this one. And I was not disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah, jumping into the show itself, like for the record, to those who don't know, the thing we're doing here is that we're having a bit of a non-spoiler talk, and when we're about to go in to get into spoilers, we'll let you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can. This is still a safe territory. You can watch it if you just want to hear some quick opinions on the show. In case you've seen trailers, we are gonna talk about stuff that's been like in official announcements and trailers. So if you want to avoid everything, then avoid this. I don't know. Come back later, but non spoilers here in the meanwhile. So when I heard there was a Loki show, I was interested, and I was even a bit more interested when I realized this is not continuing the main canon like WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier did. This is focusing on the Loki who got away in Endgame in the alternate timeline to to those who remember Endgame, and honestly, who hasn't seen Endgame by this point, with the exception of my father, who doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and we are following that Loki, which I found interesting because it's technically the same Loki we know, but he's not as developed as he got when we saw him die in Infinity War. This is a technically younger and less experienced quote unquote Loki.
Yeah,
And
it's
and
interesting, right? Because this is Hiddleston, who's again, I think this is why he gets a lot of the recognition that he does because he's such a good actor for Loki. Where this is him
yeah.
having to, oh, I've played this character to completion. Now let me go back and play this character before that moment again, right? Which can be
And
difficult.
that and you know what, you just segued into that. So I want to say that like Tom Hiddleston really gets all of my credit and all of my appreciation for doing this role as he does, because there
Mm.
are a lot of moments in this show where I just felt if this was any other actor, like if this was any other show or movie or whatever, I would just say, oh, it's this kind of cliche, or oh, it's this kind of joke. But he makes it work. There's something
Mm-hmm.
about him that makes every line work. He makes you listen to him with everything he says. He has this charisma that I can't explain necessarily, but he can turn any cliche line into either to something hilarious or something engaging or something dramatic. He has that ability. He's a really great actor, and if you need a proof of that, watch this show.
Yeah, very fair.
But anyway, what were your thoughts on the show in terms of non-spoilers? Would you say this? How would it rank compared to the other two?
Ooh, I think based on season one, based
Mm-hmm.
on this season, based on what we got, it's close. Extreme. I think if we get a season two, I think it could end up beating out Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But
Mm-hmm.
for now, I think it sets just below it. I would rank it above WandaVision. Don't get me wrong, I liked WandaVision, what it was doing a lot,
Yeah,
but I
ranking
enjoyed
something
this a bit
above something
more.
else doesn't mean you hate the other
Oh
two.
no, but the internet,
Yeah,
they do
internet,
not
very
think
fair,
that way.
very fair.
But no, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think I liked WandaVision, but I think I got into this one a bit more than I did WandaVision.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's fair. I would say that I'm kind of like you that I really like the show. I'm not my favorite of
Mhm.
the three that we have so far, but I will say though that it's all well and good until we get to the ending of the season. Not saying what it is, but the ending was the part where it kind of started losing itself, if you ask me.
Hmm.
And again, like you said, this isn't really a spoiler because they announced it, but there is a season two. We are getting another season of Loki,
Okay, so I can say
and
it then. Yeah. All right.
mhm. Because it's not really a spoiler. Marvel confirmed it halfway through the show, through this season's run, so
Ah.
all good. So basically, there is going to be a second season, and I'm interested in seeing where it goes, most definitely. But it's not
Mhm.
necessarily that the ending is like, oh, I need another season of this. It's just that we'll get more into this when we get to the spoilers part. But it just felt like it just felt like we got a lot of talking and not much showing or doing or it felt like this entire thing didn't really resolve anything, if you ask me, or we got some sort of progression.
You're referring
But
to the ending, correct?
yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Again, it feels like one of the because it feels like one of those things that obviously we know now that WandaVision is setting up Wanda in the next Doctor Strange movie.
Hmm.
We now know that Falcon and the Winter Soldier kind of sets up a new Captain America movie with Sam Wilson in the role. This feels like they're setting up another season of this, but nothing is resolved, which is a problem for me.
And I feel some things are resolved, but I do see where you're coming from. There are many other things, potentially more important things that aren't necessarily resolved here in this moment. And you
Mhm.
do get it's definitely, this season is built up for season two. Like, you've seen the world, you've seen the characters involved, you've kind of seen the story, the lore. Now we're gonna dive more into that. We're really gonna start figuring things out and kind of getting into the more meat of things in the second season. Which is fair. A lot of shows end up doing that with their season one, and more often than not works out quite well for them. Sometimes they do
Yeah,
falter a bit.
I will say I'm giving this one a bit more of a pass because we do know that there's going to be a season two.
Mhm.
It has been confirmed by the creators, so at least you're kind of going into this knowing that there's going to be more after.
Yeah,
It's not like that it just ended and that's it.
yeah. If
So
this
at the very least, there's
considering the
that.
ending, if we had no clue that there was going to be a season two, it would definitely be a little bit. I would be more harsh towards it, right? And
Yeah,
I'd
but
be more willing
it's
to
also
agree with your take on the ending.
yeah, I just hate it when we don't necessarily get a resolution because oh, we are totally gonna continue this. We hope, and especially when it's something that's like the MCU, where you need to keep in mind that whatever you get in this show is something that's now a part of this universe in one way, shape, or form. So it's not like where you can just it's something you can just ignore because it had a cliffhanger ending. This is something that's a part of something bigger that will continue and is continuing.
Hmm.
So it's a
I
bit
mean,
more of a it's a bit more of an yeah, I get what you mean that it's not something to really judge a show for, but at the same time, it's a personal call it a personal nitpick for me.
that's fair. That's fair.
So I think we basically covered everything that's non-spoilery at this
Hmm.
point.
I would say so.
Okay, awesome. So from this point on, actual plot spoilers do not engage unless you've seen the show or you don't care. Spoilers start in three, two, one. You still hear? Good. Alligator Loki is the best part of the show.
Fair.
Wolf, I'm taking your
Fair.
side. Okay.
Richard E. Grant was, my personal favorite when he showed up as classic Loki, but
Yeah, I know. I'm saying this as half sarcasm
I
because
know.
it was kind of funny when it showed up. Like there's
Actually,
just this alligator.
go ahead. Go ahead. I'll wait.
Yeah, I just want to say that there was something really funny to me that there's just this alligator there that you have to accept is a version of Loki and doesn't really do anything that's Loki-ish. It just has the helmet, and you're just supposed to like, yeah, that's a Loki
Hey,
that they came
man.
across in one of the.
Timelines can do funky shit out there.
Mhm. Yeah, well, we
Would you
obviously
rather
know that
have
there's
been an
something called.
anthropomorphic alligator who could do Loki things?
No, 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 no. On the contrary, I like that it's just a realistic alligator with Loki.
It could have been an
Honestly,
anthropomorphic alligator if you're desperate, HC.
I was just about to say, I wonder if there's a Loki counterpart in the Spider Ham canon.
You have it right here, right now. There's your
No,
Spider Ham
that's not what I'm
counterpart.
saying. I don't know if there's something like this in the Spider Ham comics. I was just making fun of it.
Somewhere out there in the timeline, HC is a Sonic version of Loki, a Sonic Loki, Loki Sonic.
Trust me, someone most likely drew it, and it's a good thing Jaya is not here because she would force me to draw it, and who knows, maybe she will. I don't know. We'll see.
Sonic
Anyway,
reference out of the
moving.
way. Ding! Now, take a shot,
Yeah, and
ladies and
I
gentlemen.
wasn't. I take a shot because I wasn't the one who made it. That
Listen,
that's on Wolf.
you're
He
guaranteed one
brought some.
Sonic reference per video, so take your shot.
Yeah.
Just like you're supposed to be taking a
He's
shot
getting.
every time I say the word right.
He's He's making the rules up, people. He's the one killing you, not me. Anyway,
Listen, the
moving
Berkcast and
on with.
Outcast is not held responsible for any poor decisions you make at our behest.
Yep. Well, speaking of decisions, what do you think about the decision of the show to actually talk about multiverse? Because people who read comic books and stuff know that, and people who've seen Spider Verse, which is a masterpiece, and if you haven't seen it, go see it right now. But what do you think about the MCU finally acknowledging that we have alternate timelines, alternate versions of these characters?
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they show in like one of the old MCU movies, like it was the Stan Lee cameo was him talking with the three Time Weaver people, the Time Lords, who like
He was talking to the Watchers in Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
yeah, is that not them in this show? Those three, or is that something
No,
different?
I don't think they are supposed to be the same characters because those are supposedly different things.
Hmm.
I think, but I
Here's a
don't think
restore our lack of
these are
MCU knowledge or MC, Marvel,
no,
the Marvel
it's not
Universe
necessarily
knowledge.
in. Yeah, because again, from the information I have regarding the comic books and all of that stuff, and I'm not really keeping up with comics. I'm trying; it's too much. But from the
I'm not
information I
at
have,
all.
the Watchers aren't the things we have in this show, and honestly, I think the whole timeline police thing, I think that's made up. I don't quote me on this. I think it's made up for this show.
Okay, oh, no, that's fair. All right then. Yeah. So what was your original question? Yeah, the multiverse question. I think it's interesting, right? I don't know how much they're actually going to do with it. And I think it's interesting because now, right, it does require them to explain things. And I think it's interesting in a, hey, the Avengers actually went back in time and changed shit. And it's like, oh no, they did exactly what they were supposed to do. That was meant to happen. That is the timeline.
Mhm.
It's like, but
Yeah.
they went back and changed the past. Yes, that's a part of the single timeline. The
Uh,
fuck?
you know
Head
what?
explode.
No, this I understand what you mean by that, but it's also just one of those things though that when and because in Infinity War and Endgame references it, there's the point where Doctor Strange actually says that he saw, like that he saw 4 million versions of what's going to happen, and in only one of those options they win. So considering that line, I could accept it as something that's like this is like how it was meant to be.
Oh no, no,
Like
no. I accept it.
Loki escaping. Mhm. Loki escaping wasn't, but this like okay, I can buy that.
Like
I
no,
can
no,
see
it makes sense. It's like I honestly, I think right, you can tell that a lot of planning went into the show considering the whole timeline nonsense. Considering you're doing like, hey, we're
that.
going through time and doing things of that nature, you can tell things have been planned out well. And I think it's really going to matter more in season 2 because you don't get anything here of them messing with any timeline with the Avengers, right? Like you never see any of the other Avengers here, which you probably want in season 2. Maybe
Like
you
found
will.
footage, because
Well,
there was the scene in the first episode where Loki sees like how things were supposed to happen and stuff, and
that's more.
which is actually a
I
really good scene.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
again,
But we'll get there in a
but
minute. But
like
that is,
actors don't show up.
yeah, that is
Like
just
Chris
we're
Hemsworth,
literally playing footage from the movie. That's all that is, which is fine.
yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Point
Hmm.
is, right? It'll be interesting to see if they play with the timeline, and actually involving the Avengers, even if they don't necessarily get the actors in, like they get, like, oh, it's, classic Ironwood, stuff like that. If they get that in, it'll be interesting to see if they play with the timeline in that regard. Because I think I would
Yeah,
like to see a bit
because
more of that in season 2.
mhm. Because they have talked about the idea and that supposedly this phase, like phase 4, is really going to focus a lot about the multiverse, and starting with the idea that we have WandaVision, where Wanda basically created an alternate timeline, and and then we'll see more of the multiverse in the next Doctor Strange movie, which is already confirmed to have, I think, man, what's his name? Matt Damon. Maybe it's not Damon. I'm not. No, there's someone else that's going to play Iron Man in that movie. I'm not sure who. I forgot his name at the moment, but there's like an alternate universe Iron Man that's gonna show up, and there are also all of these rumors that no one is talking about, and it's driving me insane because just confirm it for God's sakes that in the next Spider-Man movie we are getting Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield back to be
Oh
alongside
yeah, I've
Tom
heard that
Holland.
rumor. Yeah.
Yeah, which again, everyone is freaking talking about it. So just confirm if it's going to happen or not, or give us a trailer for God's sakes. Do something with this movie for God's sakes. It's not hard.
No,
Sorry,
because if they
lost it a bit
continue to
there.
play you on, if they continue to lead you on, it's more exciting.
Honestly, I would have believed you, but when it comes to the point where everything I just see whenever I open YouTube or the internet in general, and it's like, hey, this guy confirmed that this is happening, and then this person confirms that it's not happening, and this one says that the other person is full of shit, and then the other person says, just say it. It's not hard. Shut people up because I'm sick of theories at this point.
Just don't go into the internet, HC.
Oh, you mean don't go to the place where I need to go to in order to watch Loki and in order to record this podcast. Okay.
Details.
Back to Loki. So like I said, Phase 4 is, as they said, is really going to focus on the entire thing with the multiverse,
So this is
which
definitely building
honestly,
that up at this moment.
yeah, and I want to say that considering, there is something about this because the previous saga, and the previous 3 phases were all about the idea of space and just how big the universe is. and we have Thanos as the big bad who kind of wants to reshape the universe in a way he thinks is correct or peaceful.
Hmm.
So how do you go bigger than that? Where can you go afterwards? You go to other universes. You go to different dimensions, different whatevers. And I think for a show that's just meant to and it's also interesting that I think, if I recall correctly, maybe because you could say that Thor was kind of the biggest of the setting up points for the first Avengers. I don't know.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
kind of was.
yeah.
Let's say it had a big part in setting up the events of the first Avengers, and also Thor is the one that learns the most about the Infinity Stones, and he sets to look for them in Age of Ultron and all of that jazz. So
Hmm.
it's also interesting that it's Loki that goes through really expanding on what the multiverse is and how there are different versions of these characters somewhere in different timelines and how timelines work, how all of that concept works. And if you actually meet yourself, what's going on with this? Is this version of you doing is exactly like yourself, but a different sex, a different age, a different something? Or are there differences between these versions of yourself and the others? So I think it brought a really complicated and maybe even convoluted to some people concept, but it made it approachable. It made it understandable.
Yeah,
There is some yada yada stuff that some people might get lost on, but overall, I think they did a really good job with this concept.
yeah. I mean, you can tell they did the research in what they wanted to do with their kind of time travel idea and time
Mm-hmm.
travel like lore, quote unquote, right? Like they did the
Mm-hmm.
research, and you can tell like this is what we're going to do for that. This is what we have set up for that, and we're not changing that. Let's go for that. And they
Mm-hmm.
kept to it, and I would
Because
say they kept to
another
it very
thing,
well.
mhm. Because another thing people brought up regarding Endgame, and I also brought it up, that Endgame basically says that how time travel in Back to the Future works. That you go back in time and you can change a thing in the past, and it will change the present you come back to. And Endgame does say that you can change a thing in the past, but once you go back to the original timeline, then you're going back to the timeline from which you came from. The timeline just splits.
Hmm.
And so
Which is
again,
neat.
this is a really interesting, yeah. So it's interesting to play off that concept and seeing that, you know what, yeah, because if it is possible, why wouldn't be an organization that's keeping an eye out for it? And why wouldn't be people who try to oppose it if they can cheat that, like Loki basically did?
Or do even worse than that, right? And I love
Mm-hmm.
how I did not expect to see Owen Wilson in a Marvel film, getting into the TVA, the Time
Yeah,
Authority. I forget what the V stands for.
yeah.
But yeah, like I did not expect to see Owen
He's
Wilson in a Marvel film, but here it is.
well, it's a Marvel show, but yeah, technicalities.
I didn't expect to see
But
Owen Wilson
yeah,
in anything Marvel, right? It's been a long time since I've heard the name Owen Wilson and I've seen him as an
and
actor playing
honestly,
something.
the last time I heard his name was 11 years ago, I think,
Hmm.
when he voiced Marmaduke.
Hmm. But I mean, he does good in the role. I think, there's
Yeah, he
no
does.
one else I would cast as Mobius at this point. I think he's like
Mhm.
the perfect. He plays off of, Hiddleston very well. Like, I
Mhm.
know a lot of people,
Yeah,
make fun of Owen Wilson and give him a bit of crap, right? But he's not a bad actor, and I think
well,
he does
a
well
lot of
here.
people make fun.
They
A lot of
meme a
people
lot of
make
his
fun of
roles,
actors,
right?
and
But
yeah, well, but at the same time, a lot of people meme Nicolas Cage, and even though he has his share of
they meme
bad
Nicolas
roles,
Cage
and
for a good reason, though. Let's be
yeah, but
clear.
yeah, true. But at the same time, Nicolas Cage still has some roles in movies where he's a legitimately good actor.
Sure,
He can do drama. Yeah, I'm just saying
but
that just because someone is memed doesn't mean that they are bad actors or that they are bad at their job.
no. But
It's just
again,
but
Owen Wilson and Nicolas Cage are memed for very good reasons. The whole wow thing for
yeah,
Owen Wilson. That's a meme for a reason because it's just that because
yeah,
it's
and that's
terrible. It's
true.
bad, right? But I mean,
Yeah, true.
you don't really get that here a lot. And again, it's Owen Wilson giving a, in my opinion, very good performance as Mobius and playing off of Tom
And
Hiddleston extremely well, in my opinion.
yeah, and it's also something that some people seem to forget that actors have directors, actors have editors, and those people could literally destroy an actor's performance. So I won't necessarily say that Owen Wilson was the greatest performance in that where he came up with the wow thing, but
Hmm.
it's also I won't necessarily blame him for this. It's just give him a good director, give him a good script, and he can do well.
Which is fair.
And he did really well. And he also had Tommy Wilson to walk off of, and you can tell they had great chemistry. I like their back and forward. But I think like the breakout actors for me here is the female Loki.
Yes, Sophia Di Martino, I believe is how her name is pronounced, says Sylvie. She was
Yeah,
very good. There is one other actor who I also very much enjoyed, but we'll get to him later. But yes, Sophia,
I think I
Sylvie
know
did
who you're talking
great
about. But
here.
yeah, yeah, I just want to say for the female Loki, one, how is it that from all the things I can compare something in Loki to, Crash Bandicoot for It's About Time is the one? How is that possible?
Just is, I guess.
Yeah, to those who don't know what I'm talking about, and
I
I assume
don't.
Wolf might not know.
I do not.
Okay, so in Crash Bandicoot 4, there's this entire thing, and it's about time, the new one, not World of Cortex. That doesn't count. Fuck that game. But
Hmm.
in Crash Bandicoot 4, there's this thing where the villains kind of cause, space and time rift, which sends Crash and his friends throughout time and space, and they kind of need to stop them. So one of the villains, Entropy, teams up with his alternate dimension self, who's a woman, and they literally imply a lot of times that they've been together in some intimate ways, like they flirt with each other like no tomorrow. And a lot of people made fun of that. It's like, wait, so is if one guy is hitting on his female version from a different dimension, does this is this some kind of like uh, interdimensional masturbation or something? Like, how does this work that you are attracted to yourself in a different sex? And it's like, when I first saw her, I was like, is Loki is about to go Crash Bandicoot 4 on us? And sure enough, it did. But at the same time, I like it. They had a really good chemistry. I love these two
Hmm.
together.
Agreed. It's it's one of those things that I guess don't think too hard about it, but yeah, it works. It is very enjoyable.
Mhm. I'll tell you this much. I'll take this over Wonder Woman's boyfriend hijacking some guy's body and basically taking away his life.
Yeah, yeah. I will
Wonder
say
Wonder
you
Woman
can
8
tell.
Wonder Woman 84. No, no, no. Let me finish that sentence. Wonder Woman 84 is a terrible movie, and everyone who says it's supposed to be funny, no, it's creepy,
Mm,
very
fair,
creepy.
fair.
Back to Loki. What did you want to say?
I will say, right, you can tell that the show goes above and beyond to make sure, like, to try and distance itself from the idea of, like, self-cessed, I guess you would say, right? I think it's what it would be called. Where, like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm not a Loki, I'm Sylvie, I have my own name, I'm different, I'm not like you, I'm very different, things of that nature, right? Like you can tell there's a lot of effort gone into making sure that these two are viewed differently. That they're not that like it's not Loki. It's not Loki and Loki. It's Loki and it's not Loki and Lady Loki. It's Loki and Sylvie. Like that's how you're supposed to see it. Like they go through a good bit of effort to try
Yeah,
and make you see it that way, to try and get away from any
but at the
like
same time,
thoughts.
but at the same time, it seems like the only way though they call her Sylvie is because so that Loki won't confuse her, that he'll have something to refer to her to instead of Loki without it sounding weird.
But again, like they're doing it for the other reason as well, though, and you can tell it.
Yeah,
With
that's
that
true.
said, though, they
That's
do
also
have
true.
Mobius make fun of Loki quite considerably so for being so narcissistic to fall in love with himself of all people,
Yeah.
which I
And
like that scene again. It was just more Mobius and Loki back and forth, which was enjoyable.
yeah. And something about this, actually, something about this. I'm not sure. I'm not saying this in terms of criticizing the show, which it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Just
Mm-hmm.
an interesting point of discussion which came out is that kind of like his comic book counterpart, Loki in this show is considering himself gender fluid, which means he could be attracted to any kind of sex. So
Mm-hmm.
what does it mean if he's kind of falling in love with a female version of himself? Would he like fall for one of the other versions of himself too?
I
Hmm.
mean, possible. Nothing's stopping it. Again, if you're gender fluid,
Fan fiction writers, fan fiction writers, I'm
Oh
begging
no.
of you, ship him with the
I
alligator.
knew
That's all I
it.
want. Let's be honest, everyone else probably made that joke and we're just behind.
Probably, but we'll still take HC out back and deal with him, ladies and gentlemen, later after the show.
Yay. Looking forward to it.
But yeah,
So,
it's again, like you said, like I think you can see very clearly, she plays the role very well. You can see, her development going through everything she's going through and all of the loss she's been through and the loss that she's been through and the
yeah.
running away constantly for her entire life being taken. And again, like seeing the TVA, getting to see her backstory very quickly is the kind of first glimpse you get to see of just how bad the TVA is. That like, hey, they just took a
And I
kid
also
away and
like
refused to let that
and I
kid live
also
their
like
life.
Loki's yeah, and also like Loki's logic in terms of finding her. Once he finds out that Ragnarok is a thing that happens, and he's like, wait, so there's something she's looking for, and that something is the next Ragnarok, or how they call it, a nexus.
Well, yeah, like you
They
actually,
like
yeah, like you see, I loved that because it was actually really clever. Because again, it shows that one, the TVA isn't all knowing, that you can actually do whatever you want to do technically
mhm,
within a
yeah.
apocalypse level event because you don't change anything. All of those people are going to die, so long as nothing changes, you can literally do whatever you want and relive that moment inside of there as long as you want and basically have a life inside of that apocalypse, right? It's
Mhm.
very
And
interesting.
again, it plays into that time traveling rules that they set up because it works in that sense, but it also kind of creates this thing you won't necessarily be able to figure out in terms of mystery.
Hmm.
Like, because when they started chasing her, I wasn't even aware that they're gonna reference Ragnarok again, aside from showing Loki his memories from, the correct timeline.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden he finds out about this, and he actually brings up the really interesting point that, yeah, if you can go back in time to certain events and certain things, what's stopping you? What's stopping you from just reliving events that you are connected to?
Well, stopping you is the
And
fact that you'll ruin the timeline because you might change things. So,
yeah,
and
right,
then you get
right,
arrested
but
by the TVA and you get,
yeah,
erased.
but that's exactly the point. What if she found ways to manipulate them? And seems like she did because she managed to. I didn't really follow that plotline along, but there was a point where we see Sylvie who's kind of like trying to tell one of the TVA guards that she had a life before she started working for the TVA. It wasn't a thing that was just created
Well,
and she's a creature protecting time. She was brought from Earth,
yeah.
and there was a whole mystery
What
surrounding
what
her backstory.
well, what it is it's not really a mystery. They very clearly tell you everything that's going on there. The
Yeah.
first person she takes is basically, Hunter B-15, I believe. It's basically, she was, and through her you find out, like, oh, because of Sylvie's, power, Loki powers, and hers is enchantment, she can basically mess with people's memories, but she can't recreate, she can't make new memories, she can only work with what's there. And through her you actually learn that, oh, she had memories from before. She used to live on Earth. She used to be a human. And then you see another hunter whose mind she messes with, and that person takes her off to the side because she wants to know more, because and it's someone who I believe who's kind of a main character in the show.
Yeah.
I believe it's
I
the
forgot
other
the names a bit, but I
hunter
get what you
lady.
mean.
But yeah, like Hunter
But again,
C-20.
it's something.
No. Hunter
Mhm.
C-20 is the first one. Hunter B-15 is the one who's like bigger. Christ, Hunter
Okay.
B-15 is not a good character name, but whatever. The actress is I don't remember quite off the top of my head, but she's another very good character, very good actress. But point
But
is
again,
that they do kind of answer
the
that
point is,
question, and the idea is that, yeah, all of the
no,
people who work for the
what I meant
TVA
with
are.
mystery is
Let
that
me
you are
finish
questioning it.
HC, damn it.
I'm trying to explain myself because you misunderstood me. That when I said mystery, I didn't mean that we don't know it. It's a mystery throughout the show that you figure out. That's what I'm saying. Now
That's
continue.
fair. That's fair. But yeah, the mystery is that everyone at the TVA are also variants. That they were taken from their particular timelines. Their timeline was erased, and they were used to basically help, guard the timeline. Everyone there is a variant. And that builds into the mystery of when we finally get to see the timekeepers, and we see the timekeepers are just
Our
androids.
machines.
Yeah. They
Yeah,
are
they're
nobody.
robots.
They are just people. They are figureheads, essentially. Which goes into, you know, which goes into seeing He Who Remains. And, Jonathan Majors plays him. And I love this
So
character.
so we are going to jump into this. One thing I want to say, I know it's not possible, but what I'm going to say now, it's one of those things that I think it kind of sucks that it's not possible, but wouldn't it be amazing if Stanley was still alive if he played that character?
Yeah, I was thinking that, I was also thinking I would also enjoy it very much if they just come in here and it's just another Loki.
That I think that would have been pushing it,
Yeah, it
but
would have been
I
pushing
get
it, but
what
I
you
would have
mean.
laughed. I would have loved it, even if it was another Loki, if he was just wearing the Loki hat, like, haha, fooled you. All right, enough of that joke. Let's do this, because the way Jonathan Majors plays this character, it feels like that's something he would do just to be a dick, because this dude is kind of a dick. Yeah, he's all knowing, he's kind of seen the timeline, he's lived for hundreds, millennias, right? He's lived for millennias long, so he's been around for ages, countless ages. So it would have been a cheeky little move by him that feels like it would have been in character, but I do love this character and the way Jonathan Majors portrays him. I think he does exceptionally well.
So here's the thing that
But
I'm
yeah, you
not sure
said you
how
had problems with
controversial or
this.
not.
What is your problems with this?
The thing is, I have no problem with the character itself, not
Mm-hmm.
with the performance. My problem was with how they handled it.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is, for obviously you've seen the show. This is happening in the very final episode of the show, right?
Yes.
This is in episode 6. This is our season finale.
Yes.
And as much as I was aware at the time, it was also the series finale because I had no idea there was a season 2 until the credits, and then I read and confirmed that halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
But the basic thing is that this is supposed to be your final episode. This is the final thing, and he says some really interesting things in terms of law,
Hmm.
and he puts Loki and Sylvie in a really interesting situation. The problem is that this entire thing is basically just three people sitting around and talking and doing exposition and explaining. And it's like, this is not a season finale.
I
This is
disagree.
not a. What
Hard
do you mean by
disagree.
that?
I mean, I love the fact that it was talking because again, I think that plays into the character. You can't really show the threat that he's talking about, right? You can't really show that.
No, I'm not saying, again, I don't mind the fact that he's telling them. On the contrary, I like that he's telling them and I like what he is telling them. My problem is that I think we should have maybe split this into maybe another episode, or maybe just do a more focus on this. I'm not sure, but because from the time, because all the Loki and Sylvie stuff, after they enchant the fog and get into his castle, this is all we get. And and like the fight with him, and like because the fight and the decision that Loki and Sylvie have to make, that's great. And again, the backstory he does give out is great as well. I just think that after he finishes that, we are kind of doing a repeat, if you notice, because it tells them you have two options. You can either kill me now, and then my other versions would just, will just go to war with each other,
Well,
and
his
whoever
other
wins.
versions, yeah, you might end up with someone way worse than him. You might end up with someone
Yeah,
better. It's a gamble. You're taking a huge risk
yeah,
and a huge gamble,
exactly. But
not having
the
no
thing
clue
is
what'll
that,
happen. And that's
yeah, so he
his
tells them.
belief, right?
Yeah, and that's what I want to say though. Like, let me finish now.
Hmm.
Back at you.
Hmm.
But so he tells them, okay, so you can kill me and take a gamble because one of the other me's could be either better than me, or it could be worse than me. Or that you keep me alive and you know all the ins and outs because you've met me. I'll just continue run the show as I think is fit. We have so many repeats of that explanation, which just feels like we're trying to pad out for time. We are trying to increase the drama by repeating the rules we just established. And I get it, but it's also, you had it good, you have a good story. Don't drag this out in order to make an episode go on longer. So
Disagree.
that's a bit where I felt like we could have just cut to the chase because I got the explanation the first time. That's
Disagree.
it. I don't need more.
I don't feel they
And
do any
that's fair.
repeating there. I feel the idea is that, again, it's meant to be anticlimactic. It's meant to be just this one big talking scene of this guy, telling you everything that's going on, why he did it all, and then offering to Loki and Sylvie, hey, you run it now. I'll work it out for you to be a part of the timeline and run all this now, and then it's all yours. Have fun, do that. Let's continue this because this is better than the alternative in his mind, right? Again,
Yeah,
he's very
but
much a character who the ends justify the means, and the path to hell is paved with good intentions, right?
and that's exactly what I mean, though, that when after it's all said and done, we get like a short fight between Loki and Sylvie, which again, shot great, edited great, all it's great. And Sylvie eventually ends up killing him.
Hmm.
And okay, I'm interested in seeing where this goes, but I feel like if you're going to cliffhanger us, then at least show me the other versions, at least show me something else, at least live up to the thing you were building up. And again, I get it that it's supposed to be anticlimactic. I get it that we were supposed to have this explanation, which again, I like the idea behind this. And maybe I'm alone on this. I don't know, but
You're
something
very
about
alone
this
in
felt
this.
off to me. Yeah, maybe I am. I don't care. I've been alone in other situations. I can be alone on this, damn it.
And again, it's I get where you're coming from. I get it. I disagree though.
Yeah, and it's fine. I'm not asking you to agree with me. I'm just telling you where I'm coming from.
No,
That's
that's
it.
completely fair. That's why we're here after all. But yeah,
Yeah,
I do think that again, like the whole hey, show us another version of him. They do kind of give a glimpse of that when we see that the when we see Loki sent back to wherever he's sent to when Sylvie pushes him through the time portal and everything.
yeah,
We see that
yeah.
he's
He's
in
going back to
an alternate timeline already where he kind of shows up to Mobius and Hunter B-15 and they're like, "Who are you? Where did you come from?
yeah.
What's going on?" And we see this alternate
Which again,
timeline.
I
TVA
think,
is concerned with
and this is
all of the alternate
why.
timelines that are going on.
Mhm. Yeah,
And we
and
see a
this
statue
also
of
kind of
He Who
creates.
Remains.
Yeah, yeah, and this is also my thing with ending the show there because suddenly we have this. Oh, so the ATV has multiple versions of itself too, and there's one ATV that controls the other ATVs.
Well, I
So
don't know.
how
It's
many?
not an ATV that controls the other ATVs. It's just this
Yeah,
is an alternate
and
timeline ATV now.
yeah, but that's exactly the point. If the point of this is to like show that there's always an organization that controls time, and watches over time and solves time anomalies, then because if you notice when Loki is running through there, you see the clock with all the handles, and it's like I got from that this is an ATV that just sees a lot more. There's a lot more things they're looking after, and what would you look after with time if not the things that look after time? So
Again, though,
I just
you
felt it was
see
it.
that's because you
Yeah,
just
I
don't get
get
it,
you.
HC. You just read it wrong.
And here's the thing: the show ends before I could know if I read it wrong or not. Like they just cut it, and
Again,
cool. We're getting a season two. Awesome. Just I don't know. I would like a bit more explanation to something like this because not everyone is gonna get time travel or multiple timelines or stuff, which again the show does really well in explaining to you. So why suddenly in the end it's just like
but
credits?
they do give you the explanation before you see the scene. That's why you have that entire talking scene that you apparently didn't listen to, HC.
No,
Ha
I
ha 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 ha
did,
ha.
but I did. I understood that explanation. What I mean is that when she sends Loki to the other ATV, what is this ATV? How could there be more ATVs? Which I get. I get. It's probably a teaser they're gonna answer and explain in the second season. Go, them. Way to go. I'll probably go back on
It's
everything I
it,
just said
it,
when we get to that. It's
it's
just I feel for a cut in place, and we don't know when season two is coming out. So for an ending spot for a place to just cut it all and let you wait, I think it was done pretty sloppily. But again, I
let me
could go
ask you
back on
this.
myself and season. Yes,
Where would you have ended it then? Did you want to see this? Would you have gone further? Would you have ended it sooner? Where would you have ended it?
I
Did you want to see
I
more past this point?
I would say that I would have what I would have done is have Sylvie send Loki to the portal, kill and kill that the guy, and then we might have seen the other versions like realizing that something is wrong, that that other version of them is dead, and they are going to start setting up the war between them to who takes over. Meanwhile, we see Loki waking up at the ATV. He sees Mobius and he tells him, "Oh, Mobius, you're here," and Mobius says, "Who are you?" Cut.
That's exactly what we got, though. That's
No,
no
we
different.
didn't get that because we didn't. Here's the thing that difference can make it that could have made it more powerful for me because I'm not asking a million other questions. I'm having just one. Why didn't Mobius recognize Loki? And then you can go into the entire ATVs in the second season. Again, I'm not saying this is bad. I'm just saying this is something that irked me personally.
I I,
That's it.
I feel like this is whether I'm sorry if I'm coming off as very mean here, but I do feel like this is This is a situation of there's something you've missed in the telling, in the explanation, in the showing,
Maybe,
and
maybe
that thing would help you understand it a lot more. I could be wrong. Maybe you do get it.
could
Maybe
be.
I'm the one who doesn't get it. But I feel like, you have to remember it's not other ATVs. It's the
Hmm.
past. That where they meet He Who Remains at, right? Jonathan Major's character.
Hmm.
They
Yeah.
meet him at the end of time. So basically, he's in the future when they meet him. When they meet him, that's in the entire future. Sylvia's still in
No,
the
this I
future.
got.
And
Yeah,
when
this I
she
got.
sends Loki back, she's sending Loki back into the past. And when she sends him back into the past, she's killed the person who was keeping everything together at the end of time. And the second he dies, all of his, other alternate universe selves don't immediately know that. That's when they come back into being. And when Loki,
Hmm.
and where Loki is at, all of that's already happened, and so he has to contend with how do I get back to the end of time again to try and stop Sylvie or stop whoever is there now that might be worse than who was
Okay.
there.
So the thing is, I didn't get it the way
And
you just said it,
I feel
but
like
I can see this. I can see this as a plausible explanation, but not only that, I feel like it's something that, because as we're discussing this, I think it's one of those things that's really open for interpretation at this
which is fair.
point until we get the answers, because it's not like it's not like a traditional mystery or something when you're starting to put time travel and alternate universes into the mix. Maybe there's a detail I did miss. I don't know. It's
I
very much a
think
possibility.
the draw here for a lot of people is going to be one wanting to see what has changed now, right? That's going to be the big draw. Like, what is the mystery is going to be what's changed, and I think that's why they show you the statue of Jonathan Major's character at the very end,
Hmm.
because that's
Yeah.
different. It used to be the timekeepers, right? The three alien-looking people. It used to be them.
Yes.
Now it's a statue of him specifically. That's already a big
Hmm.
change. Is this someone who's
Yeah.
good? Is this someone who's evil? We know at this point the TVA is definitely a fascist organization, essentially. So,
Hmm.
well, or akin to one. So, where does that put him at now? Where does that put this character at now? And where is Loki at right now? And what goes on from here?
Yeah.
So I
So
think the big mystery, the
it's
big
one of
draw
those
from
things
people is
that,
going to be figuring out the answers to those questions and seeing what the show comes up with.
yeah, and that's another thing where maybe a lot of if you like the show or not could really hinge on where season two takes.
Mm-hmm. Which is very fair. And it's also going to be interesting because, you're going to see a Sylvie who has lived at the end of time. What has happened to her by the time Loki gets there? Is she just dead? Is she
Mhm.
at a never ending fight, continuously just killing off
Yeah,
all the different
because if
Jonathan
she's at the
Majors?
yeah, because if she is literally at the end of time, what does that mean? Does she age? Does she not age? What is it like spending any bit of time at the end of time? What is it like? Are we going to see other versions of Loki? There are possibilities to go with this. It's just what are they gonna do with it? I don't know. We'll see.
Just for you, Marvel, an idea, a show idea. If we don't in season 2, if we see the end of time again with Sylvie, if we don't see just a mountain of dead Jonathan Majors, a pile of them sitting there, of all the Jonathan Majors who's made it, Jonathan Major characters who've made it to the end of time that Sylvie has once more killed. If we don't see all of them there, I'm gonna be disappointed in you for season 2. It's gonna be docked 1 point at least.
Kevin Feige, your call, buddy.
No, but yeah, again, right? It's very interesting, and I think that's going to be the draw for a lot of people.
Mhm. So the thing is, to sum it up, I really think it's a good show. I won't
Mm.
say it's the best one. I'm not sure if I'll necessarily, because it's hard to say, at least to me, it's hard to say now if it's the best one when I know there's more to come. WandaVision and Falcon of the Winter Soldier ended their stories ended their stories in the first season,
Mhm.
I can kind of come to my own conclusions on them. Loki, I need to wait in order to
Well,
see how it ranks
actually,
up.
that's interesting. Comparing all three of them at this point, it's worth asking. You did bring up the idea that okay, WandaVision and WandaVision, it ends with essentially a teaser for the movie, for
Yeah,
the
for
Doctor
Doctor
Strange
Strange.
movie,
Yeah.
and Falcon
Hmm.
and the Winter Soldier ends with no teaser whatsoever. But we do know we're probably getting a second season or the movie there.
No, no, no. We are not. We are just getting a new Captain America movie with Sam Wilson
Ah,
in
gotcha,
as
gotcha.
Captain
Okay, so
America.
yeah, like those two
We did
shows
talk about it,
end. There's nothing else with those two
and but
shows, essentially.
yeah, but we will see the characters again. But it won't continue those particular plot lines. Like those
Mhm.
plot lines are done. Wanda might be looking for her kids. We're not sure, but
And they did
again,
have
this is
the
something we.
whole thing in Falcon and Winter Soldier with the female character who helped them out being evil and them having to figure out that, but that
Yeah,
might be in the movie too.
yeah, maybe a reference,
But
but
yeah,
like the
it,
plot line itself is kind of closed down.
so
So
to get to the question, right? Like, what do you think about those two shows having a defined and definite ending compared to Loki with its hey season two?
I don't really mind it.
Which one do
I
you
don't
think
really
you
mind it.
prefer?
You know, here's the thing: WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier are quote unquote canonical. What I mean by that, they are on the main timeline.
Mm-hmm.
They are continuing everything that was established and would matter moving forward. Like
Mm-hmm.
whenever I'll get to see Black Widow, whenever Spider-Man No Way Home comes out, you need to remember that these movies are in the same universe. So and can maybe even happening simultaneously with those shows. Like there are even people have started making the implications that Spider-Man Far From Home and Falcon and the Winter Soldier are taking place, simultaneously, just in different parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So no, and which is honestly possible. Like it's not a far-fetched theory at all.
Yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely.
mhm. So with Loki and considering its unique premise and the idea that it diverts from the main timeline. We are seeing a Loki who managed to escape at the end of the first Avengers and what he's going through, and kind of doing his own thing. So in that sense, I'm not necessarily bothered with the idea that there's no a movie teaser and we're just getting a second season of that, because that way it can connect to the MCU and the main timeline of it, but it can also do its own thing. So I like it. I don't mind it.
That's fair. Very fair.
And honestly, considering that there are so many Marvel shows now that are coming out, like we're getting the What If show in August, I think. Like sometime in August, we're getting the What If show, and then there's also the Hawkeye show, the Miss Marvel show, She-Hulk show. There are so many shows based on setting the MCU that are coming. That what? Why not? Why relegate them to just one season? Let them have expanding storylines, expanding characters. Like, what's stopping them?
Mm-hmm. Very fair. But it's
And
worth
especially
noting though
with
that these
something.
things are still technically a part of the MCU's canon, though. Like they're not completely
Yeah, but at the
separated.
same time, yeah, but at the same time, who says they can't have multiple seasons? And
Fair,
especially with
fair.
something like a streaming service, even if the episodes are coming out once a week, and
Mm-hmm.
not like in Netflix where the entire show is just up,
Mm-hmm.
it could actually do them great if, like, imagine if Loki season 2, when it finishes, someone can and you like it, you can just one day sit down and binge all the episodes of it. Like, you could totally do that. No one could stop you. So why not? So let people have their Marvel binge.
Very fair.
So, anything else about Loki, or should we just wait until his return in season 2 whenever
I
that
mean,
happens?
we could talk a little bit about all of the different Lokis that show up near closer to the end. We didn't say too much on them, you know. It was
Yeah.
very enjoyable to see the big
I like
Loki
how,
brawl.
yeah, I do like that one of them is still Tom Hiddleston. That
Hmm.
like everything is like he's the freaking president, but it's still Tom Hiddleston. Which, by the way, I think in the comic it actually happened that Loki ran for president.
Yeah. Yeah, that you can see a lot of old comic references in the big Loki fight with a bunch of different Lokis there and some of their own unique stuff too. And seeing
Which
like, you know,
honestly,
the whole
I kind of hope that this is something that will come back. We obviously got a tease for, what's his name? I can't believe I forgot. The guy at the end of time. What is he called again?
Jonathan Majors is the
Yeah,
actor,
the
but
actor, yeah, but
the he who remains.
he who remains. So we obviously got the tease that we'll see more he who remains coming. So why not have the Loki's return? Like, what could they do? Could they help? Would they not help? Would some actually try and encourage this fight? Would some might even try and take over the position of the he who remains? There are things to do with this, and I'm pretty sure they didn't just set up that there are even more Lokis just to ignore them an episode after.
Well,
It's probably a concept they're gonna play with, and I'm looking forward to seeing how.
again, it kind of rolls back into Loki's entire ideal as a character. Like, I decide my own fate. There is nothing out there that's deciding for me. And then
Exactly.
you meet this character who has been deciding all of fate for so long. And yeah,
Mhm.
again, like, it's major character development for to see Loki of all people say, "Hey, maybe we should let him decide all of fate. Maybe that is an okay thing. Maybe because what might be, because again, there could potentially be something worse out there that we don't want to deal with, right? Again, it's some major
But
character
but
development going on there,
again,
and I love how they play with the idea that
yeah, I
all of the
like it too.
Lokis.
But
What, you're interrupting me again, HC.
but sorry,
No, go
go
ahead, go
ahead,
ahead. No, you go
finish.
ahead, finish.
I just want to say that that's an interesting character development, and I agree for the main Loki. But what about the other Lokis who
But
might still think
yeah,
we want to decide our
yeah,
fates?
this is what I'm getting
They
to, right?
could totally.
This is
Mhm.
I love how they play into that idea with, hey, the universe is chaotic. You can't really control the universe. Even the multiverse, right? Like, time is a very chaotic thing. You can't really control everything that's going to happen, no matter how hard you try. And I love how they show you all of these different Lokis because Loki is a consistent chaotic factor in the universe because Loki so desperately wants to control their own fate. Like, that is Loki's destiny.
Yes.
They say Loki's destiny is to live his life and then die, a failure, right? Like, that's his destiny. But
Mhm.
in truth, Loki's destiny is to just be a force of chaos, something that flips between good and evil, that flips between all of these different forms and different variations to, in a way, write the universe, to make the universe what it's supposed to be, or the multiverse or time itself, which is what it's supposed to be, which is chaotic, to
Mhm.
not be something that is ordered and controlled and well documented and decided upon. It's supposed, again,
Yeah.
like, I love that it rolls into itself extremely nicely. And again, you can once again say, like, this is them doing some extremely good stuff with it. And it's going to be interesting to see Sylvie come back into play of that, and whether she and how she changes as a character,
Mhm.
and how our
Agreed.
current Loki changes as a character as well.
Mhm. Well, guess we'll see whenever season 2 shows up, and
Hmm.
we'll be sure to be here when it does come out and review it. So,
Yeah.
anything else about Loki?
No, again, I highly recommend the show. I think it's definitely my second favorite. Could eventually become my first, my top favorite, Marvel show to date
I
in the
I
future.
still need to wait and see
Yeah, like,
how
I
it ends
definitely,
in order.
yeah, it's definitely a wait and see for now, but it's definitely my second favorite. Like, I definitely
Mhm.
enjoyed this first
No,
season, and I'm very
yeah.
interested in looking forward to more.
I would definitely recommend it for MCU fans and, of course, Loki fans. So, with that said, that's all for this episode of the Outcast. We hope you enjoyed. What do you think about Loki? What do you expect to see in the second season? You can tell us all about that in the comment section below, on our Twitter, which is Berkcast with a capital B, capital C, and on our Tumblr, which is Berkcast Team. So, until next time, I was HC.
I was Wolf.
And in the hopes that our alternate universe counterparts will replace us next time, see you all next time. Take care.
Bye bye.